Jay, do you want to get kick-started on things?
Yeah, okay, guys. So this week we are gonna focus on teaching everyone, the basic best practices for operating in the space. As you know, we're living in the wild west of crypto, and there's a lot of money to be made, and there's also a lot of money to be, lost through scams or bad investments, and just, you know, you have to be careful to protect your assets and yourself because it's very, very easy to get your funds stolen. This week there was a where a person he claimed to be hacked by um, selling an NFT that was airdropped to him, and there was a big panic. I think I tweeted about it, and other people tweeted too, claiming that you shouldn't sell or list or accept offers on the NFT. So there was a big panic, and like airdrop NFTs suddenly became, like no, everyone saw it as suspicious, but apparently some experts have weighed in that first of all there isn't a proof of concept for the attack, which means if there's an attack out there and it's well known, they haven't found it yet or they haven't been able to reproduce it yet. So much of that hysteria or fear was kind of I mean, it's not fearful. Um, so yeah, it is as of now kind of impossible to execute that attack unless some next level black magic. But
No, I think the confusion comes around. So I think it's the panic that something goes wrong, and then the next thing you know is your wallet gets emptied. In a lot of the cases that people end up posting, many most of them tend to be human error. Either the person clicked on a link that wasn't supposed to, they download a file they weren't supposed to, or they signed something they weren't supposed to. So, and I think that the space itself, and we were just talking about the Times minting platform, is that it's moving so quickly, and everyone wants to kind of jump on things extremely fast that you just kind of see that MetaMask pop up, and you just hit sign button, and like even I'm bad for that. Sometimes I don't even carefully read like what the address is or even the URL or all of that. And that's where a lot of these scams are coming from. So it's not that the NFT itself had something encrypted in it that as soon as you opened it or listed, that was the issue. The issue was that it created a pop-up that wasn't necessarily the interaction between your MetaMask and OpenSea, but it was rather a third party. And that's where you're giving them access to some other stuff. So I I also understand that maybe sometimes it is a bit embarrassing for people to admit that they've made a mistake and um it was partly their fault that this is how things went down, but for the most part there seems to be some sort of human error involved in all of these issues. So I think maybe for today we can touch on the difference between a digital wallet or a hot wallet and then a hardware wallet or a cold wallet, and as well as share some of the best practices to keep in mind here for the NFT crypto space in general. And part of what we're also doing with the Koala Academy is we're definitely going to be highlighting these topics in there just to have kind of like a documentation where people can easily go and check it out and share it with friends or just add to it if something else comes up. But it's something really important because as you start spending more and more time in the space, your assets are going to continue to accrue. You're going to continue to have more ETH, have more crypto, have more NFTs, and the last thing we want is just for like a mishap, a wrong click on a link or something, and then some of these bad actors taking advantage of things, right? And like I'm actually been bad for that because every now and then I've clicked on a link or two, and now I'm just not clicking on anything. And I'll share like my stories actually on mint day, right before public mint for this project, the Discord was kind of getting excited. People were sharing photos, and then I just happened to try to click on something, and I clicked on a link underneath, and actually a text file download into my computer, and I panicked a little bit, but then emptied my most valuable assets. Actually, I sent them over to Jake because him and I were talking. I just say, hey, like this is coming your way. We'll figure it out after. But yeah, let's get into the difference in the wallets, and then we can get into some of best practices and stuff that you should have in place in case for any of these issues to come up.
Yeah, so just to break down the big difference between, a MetaMask and a hardware wallet. The hardware wallet, you will never ever see your private keys on a screen anywhere unless like, you forcefully look at it. So those keys, like preferably you never want to expose your keys on any network connected device because you don't know who is watching your PC. And as soon as someone sees your key, they can steal your funds. So the hardware wallet holds your keys for you, and all you have to remember is your seed phrase and your PIN for the ledger to secure your assets. MetaMask, you know, it's a little bit more risky. Well, first of all, it's a browser extension, so I can't speak on the specifics, but it's definitely less safe than holding it on a vault, let's say. Um, your MetaMask or your browser can get hacked. Your OS can get hacked, and it's not, it's not a good way to store your riches, so to say. Like you want to have that peace of mind and send your biggest holdings, things that you'll never touch for a while, into your hardware wallet. However, it's also possible to transact, make transactions with your ledger. I believe you can connect your and if you check the thread by Mr. Nate, who was a former OpenSea representative, he has a thread that shows you how to use your ledger with your MetaMask. So essentially, MetaMask doesn't see your private keys. All the transactions are going to be approved with your wallet. And yeah, it's just if you're going to be in this space for the long haul, you should have a hardware wallet to have that peace of mind that you won't make up to an empty wallet.
Yeah, so just to add on a little bit of that, to simplify it really, hardware wallet is if you turn that off, it's completely off, right? Like no one can gain access to it unless you actually put in your PIN and you turn it back on and you connect it. Your MetaMask is connected at all times as a digital extension. Um, and that's really the biggest difference. Any sort of transaction on your hardware wallet is going to require for you to do a signature on the actual physical device, and that can prevent from people to actually moving a lot of the assets and all of that stuff. So I I highly recommend for people getting both. The reason is because I'm not going to lie, hardware wallet sometimes it's a bit of a pain to kind of have it with you. You're carrying it around. You have to worry about like where it is, and then also a lot of these sites are not going to accept your hardware wallet. You're going to have to go through
Mm-hmm.
MetaMask for one or two to actually mint. So I think from that perspective, it's good to have both. What a lot of us are starting to do, think of it kind of like your hardware wallet. That is your vault. That's where you put in your expensive NFTs, the stuff that you know you're not gonna sell, at least for a long time, and then you just kind of put it in, let it sit, and take it offline. And then your MetaMask is kind of like your day-to-day stuff, right? And
Mm-hmm.
if you guys even want like on OpenSea, you can create two different accounts. So you have your Vault and then you have your MetaMask and vice versa, and you can switch stuff around. And then so we've covered hardware versus digital wallets or hot wallets, and maybe getting I think into some of the good practices to implement for crypto safety and whatnot. I think the first one is really what you want to do is make sure you know your seed phrase, or at least you have it written somewhere physically that no one can access it if your computer were to get hacked. Because there's been instances where it's not the file that's being downloaded into your computer the issue. The issue is that you've put on a document somewhere in your computer
Mm-hmm.
your seed phrase, and that's where people get it. And that's how I've seen some of the issues with some well-known artists in the past year that had a lot of assets taken away. So if there's any sort of backup or document with your seed phrases online at all, I would say completely get rid of those.
Mm-hmm.
What I have is I've written down my seed phrase. There's actually 3 or 4 copies in different parts of my plays, hiding just in case I lose one or whatnot. There's always a bit of a backup. So I think from that perspective, you definitely want to make sure that you have those in a secure space and no one, or maybe at least one very trustworthy person that you know of that understands what it is and how it's used just in case something were to happen. So I think that's number one. And then also number two is don't just share that with anyone. Honestly, I think except for like MetaMask when you're resetting your wallet, aside from that, there's no need for you to input that seed phrase uh, anywhere. Like absolutely no need to put it anywhere. So just kind of be really mindful of what you're doing with that. Then in terms of other best practices, the one that I mentioned earlier was just keep a close eye on when that MetaMask extension is popping up and you're going to sign a contract. There's a lot of different ways these bad actors are trying to scam people, as easy as like OpenSea.com instead of OpenSea.io or OpenSea.net or whatnot. There's all these sorts of different ways of getting hacked. I think sorry, getting tricked. At one point, there was ads actually on Google search that the
Mm-hmm.
first OpenSea wasn't the actual OpenSea link. So just keep an eye on that. There within our Discord, we have a kind of a channel where you can share some of that information in case you come across something that is potential scam, and then that way we can share it with the community. I think that's great. Most of the other discords do have some sort of channel to share these as well, so it's good. I think for the most part, everyone's wanting to help everyone else be safe and not have any issues, but it's hard obviously to control everything that's happening in the crypto space. One of the other things that I wanted to touch on is all these DMs on Discord, like they've been getting really bad lately, especially is if it's too good to be true, then it's probably a scam, right? Like no one is gonna give away a bored ape for an exchange of a like. If anyone's asking for ETH up front, for the most part, that's also an issue. You did not win X amount of ETH, Bitcoin, or whatever the cryptocurrency of the day is. These are all people just trying to get access to your wallet or just trying to get you to send something ahead of time, right? And like for me, it's a lot of these email scams or um, phone scams are now turning into um, the crypto space, right? And they're getting quite creative. So I would say just be careful with a lot of that stuff.
Yeah, to add on to that, apart from what Lakoz said, you guys should also be aware that your devices, like your laptops and phones, and you know, you should also keep that updated as much as possible because just about a week ago, Apple discovered a zero-click attack, which lets any attacker take over your system without any, interaction from you. So that got me really paranoid, and I immediately, uh, booted up a system that's a little bit more hard than a Mac OS. And I realized with the amount of money I'm playing with, it's a bit more paranoid because once everything gets stolen, the whole thing is done, right? For the passphrase, I mean, for your seed phrase, I have this interesting tactic that you guys might like. So what I like to do is I write on paper, but I'm going to intentionally, leave out one or there. And those three words are forever going to be in my head. It's a Horcrux. If you're into Harry Potter, Voldemort, like he cut up himself in like seven pieces or whatever. So you can apply the same technique here and just write down the passphrase, omit like three words, and keep that in your head. And when the time comes, only you can recover the wallet. Um, what else can I say? Yeah, so generally speaking, you should also avoid keeping large sums of money on your phone or anywhere that's not your PC. Your phone is generally riskier to hold your money there, but I know some people do trade there. So just keep in mind that, you know, these devices, when they get hacked, anything inside them can be compromised. So that's why it's a good idea to have a way to separate your biggest holdings, your forever NFTs in a hardware wallet and just have a MetaMask wallet with some funds for trading, which is what you would call a hot wallet, because like you would make transactions here and sign messages and whatever. But um, to maintain that secure setup, you ideally don't want to transact with your hardware wallet. So yeah, just keep that separate, and I think you will be okay. And I guess I can go deeper since like my background before engineering was information security. So what we're speaking right now, I would say it's what we're talking about right now. It's like basic entry level paranoia. And if you're very, oh, looks like we have a speaker. Come on, Mr. Jared.
Yeah, I just had a question actually about what you were just talking about. So, like,
Yep.
for people who are like very new to the NFT space, right? What would you recommend as a cold storage wallet to buy to store your NFTs? Because like some of them, I'm doing research, but they don't even store NFTs. Some do. Do you have one that you'd recommend? Because obviously the scams are getting a lot more creative. So I agree with this 100%. I think it's great to like be informing the community how to protect everyone.
Uh, I don't have a preference. Ethereum address should be able to accept any ERC 721 or what we would call NFTs. So I haven't personally checked which wallet has like a mainstream support for NFTs, but just do your research. Any of the hardware wallets should be able to accept NFTs, but
I
in
would
terms of viewing it,
yeah, like so for example, I use Ledger. I have a Ledger hardware wallet.
mhm.
They actually have an integration with MetaMask, so it's easy to kind of you open a bridge and you can move some stuff around there and a few other things.
Hmm.
So for me, that's what helps.
All right, thanks.
We can post a link for Ledger as well. Trying actually to get something from you guys from them, but yeah, I honestly I think that's the easiest and best way is just to really practice kind of like safe tactics. When I got my Ledger, I spent almost about an hour to 2 hours just figuring out how to use it, how to properly move assets, just to be safe, right? Like you don't want to be sending some stuff to somewhere that's not it's not going to be your own wallet or something else. But yeah, I think Ledger is usually a good choice. I think there's a few people that are wanting to come up, so I'm going to start bringing a few people up, and then we'll answer some questions, and then we can dive into the topic of kind of like private sales and how to keep things safe on that end as well. So who do we have here? Nocturnal. How's it going?
Hey, hey, what's going on, guys?
How's it going, man?
Pretty good, man. Hey, just a question
Hey,
for you
Nuke.
guys. So, I've been doing some research, but I haven't been able to find the answer to this question yet. But I just got a Ledger Nano X, and I'm thinking about linking it to my MetaMask. But when I link it to my, let's say, a future scenario where my MetaMask, God forbid, does get hacked, would it affect the connection with the ledger? Like, would they get access to my ledger as well, or it's probably a noob question, but
No, it doesn't. So once you've made that connection, it the actual like the account sits there for but for anything to move in and out that account, it's going to require for you to input your PIN into your physical device. So they might take a look at it and see that it's related to this larger MetaMask um, account, but there's nothing that they can do with it. So you'll be okay.
all right, cool. Thank you so much, guys. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. Okay, we'll bring a couple more people up and then we'll get chatting about a few other things. Just trying to bring a couple of people up so to see what kind of questions they have or if you any other kind of like if anyone wants to share any experiences or something that you've seen or even something within our Discord, please let us know.
Hey team, just a quick question regarding the hardware wallets. And first of all, thank you for hosting this. I have both a Ledger and a Trezor. I've had a Trezor for a while for Bitcoins, and I transferred some NFTs to the Trezor, which received them just fine, but it's just moving them back and around to other wallets that I'm having some issue with. Do you have any recommendations of where I can get more information?
I would say the Trezor website. I'm not that familiar with it. I've been with Ledger since day one, and usually there's some documentation out there. But yeah, I know it usually involves a few different steps in order to get them back out. So if I'll ask around if I can find anything, I'll post it in our Discord or share it with you. And but yeah, unfortunately, I don't know much about it.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
Yeah, no worries. And while we bring a couple more people up, one of the things that I wanted to mention too is that when you're purchasing hardware wallets, make sure you're doing it directly from the official site. I heard at one point maybe Ledger had like an official front in Amazon, but I'm not too sure if that's still the case. But I would say definitely purchase only from their main sites because one of the other issues that we've seen is that someone's purchasing one of these hardware wallets from a third party and what they don't know it's already that wallet's been already tampered with and it's been compromised, so it's almost like you're connecting it but someone already has access through the back end. So um, yeah, just buy from the main site. If someone's offering a deal on it, just ignore it. It's something that you should definitely be careful with. Hey, how's it going?
Hey, how are you? This is ATC. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I just wanted to add on to the subject of a ledger and Trezor. A lot of the differences that I personally have seen from using both of them, it has to do with the interface that once you install, so Ledger comes with a very intuitive interface that is very easy to use and keep track of all your cryptos and NFTs, while Trezor is little bit different. I don't think it has that a well developed UI as well as Ledger does. And also, if you're looking into getting a ledger, there are two different types of ledger. There's a S and an X. S is a more older version, comes with a like clickety buttons, old LED lights, and then the newer one, the X, comes with the Bluetooth capabilities. Um, what I would recommend is to get the most up to date, because what I realized is with the older models, sometimes the update and the firmware updates kind of gets confusing and it doesn't update very well. That's one of the problems I've noticed about the older models. So I would definitely recommend looking into a newer model as possible.
Yeah, and some of the I think it's the S. the X is compatible with the iPhone, with Apple. The other one isn't. So also make sure you're keeping an eye on that when you're purchasing one.
And also, the cable that you use sometimes could affect the transmission. So like sometimes people like complain, oh, how come my Ledger or Trezor isn't working? But like it could just be the wire that you connect the PC to your hardware wallet.
Yeah, yeah, no, those are great points. Thanks. Hey, Twisted, how's it going? Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you. I just wanted to jump in and say, yeah, the first ever wallet I ever got was a Ledger because almost it made the most sense kind of when I first got into crypto. But it was an interesting thing that the previous guy was just saying about updates and kind of I just wanted to ask about like if anyone's ever had any issues or like what the roadmap from Ledger's side is about kind of the updates going forward, especially because I've got a much older model as well. Yeah, if you had any thoughts on that, or is it something that you think I'd probably have to buy a new one at some point going forward?
Honestly, I don't really want to say anything because I just don't know. I really don't know what the approach is from my perspective. Anything that has hardware, they're gonna have its limitations, and at some point they're just not gonna be compatible with some of the newer stuff. So I think for that, I would just go directly to Ledger. They actually have a pretty responsive team. Like if you have some questions in their portal, they'll usually answer within a day or two. So maybe that's the best approach. If I hear anything else, I will happily share that with the community.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, no problem. Three panel crimes. How's it going?
Pretty good. Just saw you guys were up in the space. Figured I'd jump in, say hi, see what's going on.
Nice, just poking around, passing by.
Pretty much. I mean, I was in another space and we were talking about trolling Foundation by making a 3-panel comic of peeing in their coffee, but we'll see what happens with that.
Well, good luck with that.
Thanks, man. What are you up to? What do you got going on? I see there's some security concerns and things like that.
Yeah, we were just talking about kind of the latest issues with the airdropped NFTs on OpenSea and just talking crypto safety in general. We've kind of seen the second wave of new comers into the space with a lot of these collectibles. And I feel like there's also a lot of bad actors in the space taking advantage of that. So we just wanted to add some visibility to crypto safety and stuff to our community, talk about the difference between a hardware wallet and a digital wallet and just some of best practices to keep your stuff safe.
Yeah, like I think for me, it's just like if somebody sends me something, I just don't interact with it at all. I don't know if you can safely hide it. Do you know?
Yeah, you can just
Okay,
you can hide it without really signing any sort of contract on your MetaMask.
sure.
I think it's just we're used to being with an OpenSea, and you're like you kind of assume it's just a safe walled garden, but we tend to forget that the interactions with our wallet can be outside of that. So I think that's where a lot of the issues are happening right now, and we just wanted to bring some clarity around that for people.
Hmm.
Oh, one thing I wanted to bring up before that, the hardware connection on the X is a USB or the older USB, and then the new, I mean the X is a new USB-C, and then the older one is an older model of USB connection. So technology will get updated, and if you're holding on to them for many, many years, you might not be able to connect it, the actual hardware itself. That's one of the things that I'm personally concerned about.
Yeah, that's a very valid point. And like we're seeing a lot of laptops and stuff moving to that C port. So you gotta go either find an adapter or just update the hardware in general. Sweet. If no other people have questions, one of the other topics that I wanted to talk about is just private deals or private listings. I'm someone that has a lot of trust in people, and it's usually like I come in with good intentions, but unfortunately, not everyone in this space has the same intentions. We saw that quite a bit happen at the beginning within our community, where people were setting up these private deals because they either didn't want to put a listing up on OpenSea or didn't want to pay the royalties and stuff like that, and those ended up going sideways pretty quickly. So I think there's a few different things you can do. I mean, obviously the main one is try to stay on main platforms. There's a lot of options even within some of the platforms where you can do a private listing where you add the wallet ID and only that one person can buy it, and that way it's a secure transaction. You can also use other platforms like NFT Trader, which basically it's a platform where both parties upload their NFTs or whatever the transaction is, and then there's a swap at the platform level. The platform is kind of like the middleman, and then every individual gets kind of like the items in return. So those are quite safe. And I think in terms of private deals, either do them with someone that you fully trust and they've been around in the space for a while. But even then, I would say try to find middleman services. There's a couple people in our Discord that have done them. There's also a couple other communities out there that they do them quite often. I know the siblings community. They have a very strong team that does a lot of middleman trades. So basically, what that is it's a trusted individual that has nothing to do with the actual trade happening. Both parties they'll come to an agreement, and he kind of holds the goods until the second person actually sends whatever was promised over to the first person. And what that once that is confirmed, that is received, and it's exactly what was agreed upon, then that person releases those funds to the last one. So that works, but again, like you really have to then trust the middleman too. So I would say try to find someone that has nothing to do with the original exchange, um, or someone from a community that has that track record of doing them without an issue, because that can be another well orchestrated scam if you don't really know the people that well.
There's also pseudo swap. While I
Yeah.
haven't tested it myself, but some people have claimed to have been able to trade NFTs and Ethereum without a middleman. So I'm not endorsing them, but do check that out and see if that's something for you.
Yeah, I would say just be careful with everything that you do in the crypto space as part of the, I guess it's a part of the transition we're going through, either dealing with people that are anon or pseudo anonymous, that you don't really know who or what's behind kind of like on the other side. So just be careful from that perspective. And
Hey,
if
Lakoz.
you,
Oh,
oh, sorry, just one more thing.
okay.
If you're unsure about things, just ask, right? Like we have a lot of people in the community that have been around for a while. We have our team members, or even myself. Like just reach out, and then we'll either help you or like let you know if this is actually like something legit, or if there's some concerns or stuff like that. So it doesn't help. It doesn't hurt asking. I know at times the space moves quickly and we want to act on things, but I think you're better being safe than sorry in this case.
Hey, Lakoz. I was wondering if you could kind of briefly go over why it wouldn't be good for the agency to be the middleman. Like, because I feel like some people might be thinking that.
As in like the Koala Intelligence Agency being the official middleman.
Yeah, like because I know definitely some people have like brought that up, so I just wanted to kind of like have you explain why that's not a good idea.
I don't. It's not that it's not a good idea. I think from my perspective is that then a lot of these trades can take some time and organizing people and getting all that set up. And I think if right now, like our focus is on building the community and delivering value other ways. Although if the community is really looking forward to like a trusted person or two within the team for these private trades, we can look into it. So from my perspective, it's not that it's not something that we didn't want to do. It's just we felt like it's best if people found those other platforms or ways of doing it. But for sure, I hear the concern. I'll take it back with the team. We can have a community vote if people want that to be part of kind of like the value add of being part of the community. More than happy to add that on. Like from my perspective, I don't want to be held down with then just middlemaning a bunch of different transactions. They take about an hour, and then depending on how long it takes to organize all the parties, but and it depending on the transaction, it's quite nerve wracking. If you're holding something that's six figures and you're triple checking the address that you're going to send it to and everything else, but um, I think there's just more efficient ways of doing it with some of the platforms.
Yeah, to make that an official feature, that's a lot of the work that we don't want to take on right now. But I have personally middlemans like one transaction between two agents. I don't want to make myself like a target for like, oh, would you middleman for us? But I will do one, like some trades here and there, but it's not something that we can promise. It's just like a very personal thing. I was just helping out the agent because his NFT was quote unquote stolen and it wasn't able to be traded, so they had to broker a deal between me. So just reach out to credible people and see what they say. They might help you out.
But yeah, like if people are doing like trades are gonna happen. Like it will happen. I would say reach out first and then just confirm um, that that's exactly what's happening. There's some people that I know from the industry that their their reputation that they have and how long they've been in the space that I know it wouldn't be an issue. But obviously not everyone's in that same spot. So I would just say be careful with that.
Yeah, just to add to that, I don't think there's, any official policy that we won't do it. Today, for example, we did. I know that one of the admins managed to, become the middleman for a trade, and it went off perfectly well and successfully. But it really is down to who's available, do they have the time, you know. But reach out. We can always advise on whether we can do it or not at the time.
Yeah, for sure. Um, a couple other topics, I guess. I think we've covered the main ones. I'm trying to think of any other sort of important, really topics, but honestly, like rule of thumb for me is just make sure whenever you're interacting with a new site or clicking on links, just make sure you're really careful. One of the things that I ended up doing on Chrome is make sure that you don't have that auto download setting on. So every time that you clicked on something, you have to then confirm that that's exactly what you want to do just to be safe. And yeah, just practice kind of like a safe approach to a lot of the transactions you're doing and as well as your setup. And I'm at times I forget about that too. I just start loading up my MetaMask with everything that I'm purchasing or exchanging or whatnot, and then I need to set some time aside to really go through everything and put stuff in my hardware wallet. But I would say just have a bit of a checklist of like not to have your seed phrase anywhere on your computer. Make sure you have it in a couple other places. You can like once a month just check in and transfer stuff to your ledger, or also make sure you go through the process of potentially logging completely out of your wallet, inputting the seed phrase and logging back in to make sure it's still working, right? Like there's a lot of different things that you can do to keep everything safe. And really the last thing we want to do is continue to hear that either someone from the K.I.A community or from other community has lost hundreds of thousands of dollars because they've clicked on a bad link or they thought they were signing a contract for something else, but it wasn't really the case. Um, yeah, like I know a lot of people put a lot of effort into NFTs and have a lot of their funds and assets tied in them. So I just want everyone to be safe out there, really. Yeah, I'm not sure if anyone else has any questions or any sort of experience that they're not sure of kind of like what to do. Um, Please raise your hand if you don't feel comfortable talking here or you don't have anything right now, but something comes up. There's also on our Discord, just you can go into one of the channels there. We have a crypto safety channel as well as a couple more that you can just post stuff, ask some of the questions, and yeah, we'll happily help anyone out for sure.
Just want to, I think this goes without saying, but you should have try to avoid downloading stuff and like installing on your computer. Like some people will mistakenly download something and install it, and whatever is in that program they can steal and like take over your computer. So be careful with that. I've also seen some attacks where you just have to open a PDF. So I'm very, very, like, I'm a paranoid person in general. So I never open PDFs at all. And if I have to, I would do it on my crappy laptop, just so like I don't, open myself up to attacks and stuff like that. Just knowing what people can do, like, you just be careful. Like, don't download something or open something that you don't know what's in it, right? Just be careful, guys.
Perfect. So we got about 10 minutes left here. I think we've covered most of the basic stuff. Like we said, this is part of some of our priority topics for the Koala Academy that we definitely want to have that available to everyone out there. We're starting already to compile a lot of the content behind that to be able to put it in a way that's easily digestible, also for people that are either brand new to the space and also others that have been here for a while but maybe don't have those safety steps in place. So we're working on it. We'll get it over to you. If also if anything comes up, you can reach out to myself, to any of the team members, Discord, Twitter. We're happy to help because we were all there at one point. When I remember when I first joined, I didn't want to click on anything because I was just paranoid about stuff. So it's always good just to talk to someone, get some peace of mind, but also know how to be safe out there.
If anyone is interested, to kind of beef up their security and live a little bit paranoid lifestyle in terms of tech, feel free to DM me. I can talk your ear off on how to keep yourself safe and private. Uh, and maybe perhaps in the future we can offer this content, how to be paranoid, extreme privacy in the academy. So just reach out to us. We're happy to help.
Awesome. Anything else from anyone, any of the team members that want to come up and chat? Or if not, we can call it 10 minutes early, and I'm probably gonna hop back into the Discord and chat with a bunch of people in there for a little bit before my next call. But yeah, thanks to everyone for coming up. I know this is maybe not a super exciting topic, but I do think this is a very important one because we do want to make sure that no one's putting themselves at risk and potentially losing a lot of valuable assets. But yeah, we'll continue to get that content out for you. If it's needed, we'll do another session because I know this is an important topic. But hoping that next week's spaces will be a little more interesting in terms of fun topics. It's coming to be the end of the month, and I know the team is also working hard on that next roadmap. So hopefully we can maybe touch on a little bit of that next week as well. And I think between now and then, a couple cool things should be happening. So just keep an eye out for those announcements within the Discord, and looking forward to connecting with you either on Twitter, Discord, or reach out to any other social media.
Moving forward for next week, the social media crews, we will be collecting questions advanced. We'll talk to Lakoz and J3 about the topics, and then we'll put the questions out first so that you guys can review and then ask the questions, and then we can kind of like host as we go.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right. Well, thanks everyone. We'll connect soon. Anything comes up, you know where to find us. We're not going anywhere. See ya.
Thank you,
Cheers,
everyone.
guys.
Have a great day.
Thanks for coming.